Hello, my name is Igor from my Tech Fun. This is Ender-3 V2, the first 3D printer I got for the review, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it has a lot of upgrades now. Here you can see the list what's upgraded on this printer. And I have a feeling that Creality collected all most popular upgrades from the internet, and they created Ender-3 S1. And this box is sent to me by the Kappa in exchange for the review. Let's see the specifications of S1. The build size is 220 by 220 mm in X-Y direction, and in Z direction 270 mm. The temperature are 260 on the nozzle and 100 degrees Celsius on the bed. But don't forget, this Teflon tube touched the nozzle, and this may result some toxic fumes if you go above to 40 degrees Celsius, maybe on 250 for some shorter printing, but I wouldn't recommend to go above 240 degrees Celsius. This means we are limited to PLA, PETG, ABS, and thanks to the direct drive extruder TPU filaments. It has the color screen, automatic bed leveling sensor. It has the flexible PEI sheet, which is also very good for the beginners because you don't have to use the spatula to take off the object, and it is much easier to assemble compared to the V2. And these specifications makes S1 perfect printer for the beginners. There is a Pro version where it has different hot end, which can go up to 300 degrees Celsius, but that's not for beginners. So if you need these high temperatures, for example, you want to print some polycarbonate or maybe some carbon fiber nylon, but with this you need enclosure. For nylon you need a filament dryer, and if you want to print carbon fiber you need some hardened nozzle. So if I have to recommend the printer for the beginners, definitely the S1 is the perfect according to specifications. But let's see what's in the box. I will assemble it and do several test prints. Installation guide, warranty card, spatula, but I hope we don't need this because it should have a flexible bed. Pliers, and a good one. And some other mandatory tools. We have some Allen keys, open-end wrench, screwdriver, spare nozzle, SD card with the USB adapter, bolts for assembling, and spare limit switch or something like this, and needle for cleaning the nozzle. Sample filament. I mentioned several times I don't like this solution, especially if I recommend this for the beginners. They don't know how dangerous to using this. This may jam or fall down from the spool holder. I would suggest to place this sample filament or any kind, some kind of minimal spool. Power cable. Probably this is holder for the screen. This is some kind of wire clamp. And this is that new direct drive extruder with the hot end. It's fully assembled. There is a part cooling fan. Sear touch for auto bed leveling sensor, and everything is on this breaker board. So if I want to change any part of it, I don't have to rewire completely down to the main board. I think this is part of the spool holder and the filament runout sensor. Another part of the spool holder. And this is the screen. It has the button and a warning to check the voltage before I turn it on. And this is that complete bridge with the X gantry. It is really pre-assembled, and as you can see it has 2 lead screws, so it has dual Z-axis with 2 stepper motors, and they are connected with timing belt. And this is the base of the printer. And the box is empty. Before I start with assembling, let's take a closer look of the base. So here we have the front, and I can see they are using the full-size SD card, which makes me very happy. And I think this is USB-C connector. And this is the tool holder box. On this side we have the switch. On the back side, connection for the power cable, and here we have the switch to check the voltage. In US, you have to use 115 volts, and in Europe, for example, 230 volts. Connections for the cables. And let's see what's inside. Here I can see the openings. Properly here we have the power supply, and this is the opening ventilation for the main board. You don't have to do this part, I'm just very curious what is inside. Removing of this plate is easy because I have to remove these 9 bolts. There are no hidden bolts below the legs like on Ender-2 Pro, and that was tricky. Pay attention that this is connected to the main board, so you have to unplug it if you want to open it completely. And the Creality did it again. So these are ventilation holes for this fan. So probably it sucks the air here, and the air should go out here. But now these ventilation holes are covered by this plate. The same mistake they did on the Ender-3 V2. So probably sooner or later I will create some holes here. It will work as it is now perfectly, but I believe that much longer will be the lifespan of this power supply unit if it would have opening here for this ventilation holes. So this is the main board. I cannot see any marking on it, so I don't know which type is this. These are stepper motor drivers, so we have 4 of them, and they'll be cooled by the fan which is above the main board. And great improvements, I can see a ferrous on high current wires. Okay, so this is really important safety upgrade compared to the V2. Now let's put this together. Let's check the voltage settings now. And in my case, since I'm in Europe, it is set correctly to 230 volts. The first step is installing the hot end and the wire clamp. The hot end will be mounted here on this bracket using these M3x6 bolts. The wire clamp has to be clipped on the back panel of the X-axis motor. Next is installing the gentle frame using these long bolts. I'm pre-installing these long bolts, but I will tie them later when I will insert them on the other side too. And now I can tighten all 4 bolts. The next is installing the holder for the display, and it's very easy because I don't have to use the T-nuts. I only have to screw it to these tapped holes. Let's get rid of these stickers. The next is installing the spool holder. It is secured when it completely snaps in from the other side too. And according to the instruction guide, the last step is the wiring, but I will insert one more step, and that's the checking the V-slot wheels and the tension on timing belts. Connecting this 24-pin cable to the hot end from the back side. And it will be secured with these clips. It should be long enough, and it can go here. Z stepper motors on both sides. X stepper motor. And X limit switch. Connecting the filament runout sensor. And this is the other side of this cable. Connecting the display port. Next is to check the tension on the V-slot wheels, and it looks like they tried to set this correctly in the factory. Just in case if it is not tight, and you can easily rotate a wheel with your hand, use an open-end wrench and find the eccentric nut. And you can rotate this eccentric nut until you get good tension on this V-slot wheel. Same on the left side too, and the eccentric nuts are from the inside. And I already checked the Y-axis V-slot wheels are also tight, and I hope they are visible there on the right side here. And one more time, check if the voltage is set correctly, and if everything is okay, then we can turn it on and start the leveling process. Now the leveling process, but to be honest, I get a little bit tired reading these small letters, so I just found their animation and I will just follow those instructions. Prepare auto home. Now moving Z to 0. Looks like that somebody already set the Z offset to correct value, so I don't have to change it. I disable the stepper motors and now I can manually level the bed. This means I will make this surface parallel to the X-gentry, to the moving path of the nozzle. Let's do the auto home again. And again I'm moving the Z-axis to 0. And if it is too tight, now since the surface is parallel, I don't want to change that. If it is too tight, I have to raise the Z offset. This negative value must be smaller. That's okay. Now going back and level, and this will record any mesh offset. So if there is some unequal parts, it will compensate it during the printing. And this is a time lapse of approximately 3 minutes. Leveling is finished. Let's do auto home one more time and I can preheat to the PLA and insert the filament. I'm just cleaning the surface with some isopropyl alcohol. And this may happen during the printing, so be very careful when you are using this kind of sample filaments, not on the spool. Cut the end under 45-degree angle. It's preheated now, so it can go into the hot end. And there is the filament on the other side. Ah yes, I also forget to mention that it is noticeably quieter than the Ender-3 V2, but we will see during the printing when all fans will start with the working, even the power supply unit. Now let's insert the card and see what's on it. Print Pit Ender-Z. I think this is the smallest one, some kind of coin I think. Let's print this. Now if necessary during the printing I will go to the tune and set the Z offset if necessary. Okay, I don't have to change it, I will leave it as it is now and wait for the printing to be ended. I have much better view to the printing from this side because from the front this part cooling fan is covering the view. And now it starts with the bridging process. The printing is finished in approximately 28 minutes. And immediately I want to check the bed adhesion, which is great. And now let's see the advantage of the flexible sheet. Here you can see the process when I'm adding the printer to Ultimator Cura. It is not on the list, but I will just add Ender-3 Pro and I will rename it. And only one thing I have to change is, and the Z height is 270 millimeters. And very important, since this is direct drive, I will change the retraction to 1 millimeter. And this is the calibration cube. I will slice it and try to print this object. While the printing was finished a little bit faster than expected. The adhesion is great. Let's check the dimensional accuracy in X direction, Y direction, and the Z direction. Let's check the quality of the surface. This is in X direction, Y direction, and this is the top surface of the Z. And this is the bottom surface. This could be nicer a little bit the top surface, but otherwise I'm very happy with this calibration cube. And of course every printer review must have a Benchy. And this is the final result, so this Benchy really looks great. No stringing at all, everything is finished correctly, the overhang, the bridging, even the seams lines is quite hidden. With next printing I want to test if the bed is leveled. I have an order in the progress, I have to print a lot of these are some kind of coin replacement for the shopping cart. And I want to print several objects at once. They will be spread on this bed surface, and for this it is important to be leveled. The skirt is printed correctly, and I will start some kind of time lapse. The first layer is down, this is now the second layer, and everything looks fine, so I have to wait until it's fully printed, but it looks like the bed is leveled. And the printing is finished, and each test object looks great. Let's measure the noise with this sound level meter, which I usually do, and this result is comparable with those which I did earlier. The distance from the hot end is exactly 50 centimeters, that's half meters. And it's nice, so there will be no other noise pollutions. And the average value is 45.2 decibels approximately. And I'm adding this result to my website. I got some two color sample filaments from area. On this side, from this angle it is yellow, and from this it is green. Now I believe that it is important to insert it without twisting. We will see if the figure will be constantly one color from one side and the other from the other. And I got another order from my daughter to print another mini. This is my first time that I'm using 3 supports, and they works great, but I think they require very good bed adhesion because they are starting from a very small contact area. And I think they are more riskier than the regular supports. I saw some small wobbling on these 3 here. I printed this mini several times, and I know that usually here I will have some stringing, but this direct drive extruder works great, and 1mm retraction is enough, and absolutely no stringing with this filament here. Okay, the printing is finished, and actually I can see 2 small micro strings here, but otherwise this is perfect. Let's remove the supports. And look at these surfaces, absolutely no waves or anything. The seams are visible a little bit on the back side. And of course, if I test a direct drive extruder, then I always want to print some TPU. This is CR TPU. Officially, I don't know what is the real hardness, but I measure it. It is 93 on Cura scale. And I print a GT2 timing belt I need for one of my next projects. My settings are 230 degrees Celsius on the nozzle and only 45 degrees on the bed, because the TPU may stick too good to this kind of surface, and I want to be very careful for the first printing. This is now the 4mm out of 6, and great progress so far. And the printing is finished. Okay, not the best object for testing TPU filament, but I can predict that this is great extruder for TPU, because usually I get very big string from here to skirt and later between skirt and the object, and here absolutely no stringing at all. So definitely I think this requires more testing, but not in this video. The adhesion is great, not too strong, perfect for this material. This will be used in one of my next videos, but I already tested the possibilities of the TPU timing belts. The link is down in the description. And now the conclusions. You know, with Creality 3D printers, I always had that feeling that they are 95-96% finished machines, but that's not the case with S1. Here I really have that feeling that it is finally a finished product. Of course there are some space for improvements, but first I will mention what I really like with this printer. All those very important upgrades are prepared here. Most important is the direct drive extruder, which is great for TPU filaments, but also thanks for direct drive and precise retraction, you will have less stringing even with the PTG or PLA filaments. Dual Z-axis, this is great solution, two stepper motors, and they are connected on the top with the timing belt. The timing belt is important when it's powered off. You can accidentally move from synchronization by moving on one side, but timing belt will keep it synchronized even when the machine is turned off. Stronger springs, PEI sheet, flexible, so we don't need that spatula anymore to remove the objects from the glass surface. Filament runout sensor, and a few things which are not even visible, like ferrules on high current wires. That's a very important safety upgrade. And as I mentioned, there are always space for improvements. I will just mention a few things. One of those is that Creality likes to block the view to the nozzle. In this case, it is blocked by this part cooling fan. On Ender-5 it is blocked by the alloy extrusion, on Ender-7 it is blocked by that frame, so somebody even cut that frame. Now, if the printer is equipped with auto leveling sensor and it works fine, there is no need anymore for this leveling spring, so the position of the bed could be fixed permanently. The leveling procedure will be much more simplified. The power supply unit, so if they're designed ventilation holes, I think they shouldn't be covered by that plate, so probably I will drill some ventilation holes. It will work fine as it is now, but I know that the lifespan of the PSU unit will be longer if those ventilation holes are opened. Now, Creality, if I can recommend this as a printer for the beginners, then put these sample filaments on some kind of spool. This is flexible PI sheet, so we don't need the spatula anymore, that's for the glass. Much more useful tools would be, instead of the scraper or spatula, place some metallic tweezers, that they are much more useful in this case. So that was my experience with S1. So as I mentioned earlier, the best printer I could recommend for the beginners. And I'm very curious about the Pro version, but of course don't forget that's not for the beginners, but that's for the advanced users, and I hope I will get the opportunity to test that too in the near future. If you have some additional comments, you know, write me a line down in the comment section. Thank you for watching and happy printing!